So
Yes.
going back to your childhood, what are your first memories of music as a child or in your childhood?
I would say the first memory I have is in primary.
Uh,
So through church, primary, um, like I didn't take any lessons or anything. So
yeah, yeah. So you
primary is
just
probably the biggest thing. Yeah. Elementary school, I was in Glee Club.
yeah.
So if that's organized training, that's probably the only thing I got.
So
Was in
that's
Glee
kind
Club.
of
Yeah.
where they kind of teach you a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. At least the basics of trying to sing on key and learning the lyrics and stuff. But I think probably mostly at home. I mean, just listening to different different music and singing along with it.
I'm sure.
Um,
I don't know if your family was like our family, where you had to sing a church hymn like before local every time you had local. So
yeah, and, yeah. Family prayer definitely singing Psalm one songs when I didn't understand what I was singing, what I was saying. So it's just we're just mimicking.
yeah, whatever, however your parents are, what they're saying, you're just
Yeah,
mimicking what the words that they're
yeah.
saying.
Like I didn't know if I'm saying it right, but we just kind of mimic. And so my kids, when we sing songs in Psalm one, I can hear like that's how I sounded. I probably didn't speak any kind of words right. That's what I think they're saying. That's what I think they're saying. So I just try to do it. Yeah, it's crazy because yeah, we have a I don't know what local. I think local Bucky Bucky. Fia taught
Okay,
the kids a little church. Was it
like the prayer thing that they do for the food.
yeah.
Yeah,
But they're saying it's so like everything is so kind of backwards. And my mom was
yeah, and they're
she's
probably
like,
saying it with like an American accent, like
yeah, my
someone where
mom
it's
was
done.
like, my mom would ask, "How going on?" How going on? I said, it's a church thing that feels when them they were kids. They said before
Yeah,
they
that's what those kids said. So
yeah, yeah, so from
yes,
time, yeah, I hold you mind,
yeah,
but it's all back, like it's just kind of chopped up and how they think it sounds. So yeah, eventually we're gonna get the words on the wall.
oh
So
yeah,
it's like,
definitely. At some
hey, it's
point,
on the wall, okay? You can say it right.
phonetics, guys, use the phonetics.
That's okay, because once I was old enough to understand the Salmon words, I realized everything I was saying
I was like,
was wrong too.
he's like, oh, I've been saying really wrong.
I don't even know what language that I spoke back then. But yeah, I have to say
You
daily
know what?
prayer,
That might have been
primary.
how I don't even remember if I was even saying it right because, like you said, you just mimicked what they said.
Yeah, we're mimicking what they're saying, and in church, I mean, it kind of helps to support that. But if I don't understand what I'm singing, you know what I mean? It's the same thing like Lauma, like when we have, you know,
Oh yeah, giving a you talk
White Sunday. Yeah, we're giving a talk, and I only know a very few fraction.
is whatever they
Um,
taught you. That's
yeah,
what you're
I'm just
mimicking.
memorizing. Yeah, I'm just memorizing. I'm not understanding what I'm saying, and I think that's one of the things for first generators, like
Yeah,
the
you just
household is
remember getting
someone.
smacked when you don't pronounce
Yeah,
the word right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and we are, but that I don't think they ever understood that we don't understand it.
Yeah,
Like I'm just repeating what you're telling me, mom, and I don't know what I'm
because
saying.
they're looking at you like you're someone. Okay, but we're not
Yeah,
in
I
someone. I
know,
don't.
and my mom can't speak English, but my dad can't. But my dad's it's kind of a weird thing. She can't teach us Samoan because she can't understand the English part. You know what I mean? Like she don't speak English, so how's she gonna translate?
to try to try to
Yeah,
see
to
what
like,
you're trying to
we
say.
know, yeah, yeah. She doesn't. She just kind of forces just say it, and even though I don't know what I'm saying. So,
So
and
you're
that's
supposed
probably
to. I think at that point you're supposed to read like facial expressions and
yeah. It's the fear. It's the fear that I have that I don't want to get fussy again. So I'm
uh,
just trying my
when you
best.
see the eyes glaring at you and
Yes.
the voice raising you is
When the
okay.
tension,
I
yeah.
think I'm not doing something right.
Through my tears, I can see that, but they didn't know any better,
Yeah,
Like how
like
we
I
talk
said,
out, they didn't know any better, man.
they don't. I mean,
Sometimes I
you know,
think they do, but I really don't. I think
they have no
maybe,
clue.
yeah,
They're
I think they're
just
kind of shooting off the hip the best they can,
yeah,
and they're trying
exactly.
to
That's why
help
I
us to
remember.
understand.
I think I told you like sometimes when I say that my dad was Sawat, I think
Yeah.
people at first think I'm like upset at him or angry. I said, oh no, I'm not at all. Nothing but love. It's just that's how he was, but that's all he
Yeah.
knew, and I can't fault him for that. So
Yeah. Whatever experiences they had, that made them
yeah,
that way, and
so
you know what I
they
mean.
were, brand new in a country that they had no clue how anything went, and they're trying to raise a family and raise kids, and
and they're trying to raise us the way they were raised, but we're not in the same
even
country
though
with the same
it doesn't
culture.
work the same, but
Yeah.
But they only know that society. They don't know this society here.
And I mean that takes years and years for me to finally understand that it's two different worlds that they're trying to integrate, and they did the best they could, but they didn't understand. Like we didn't understand where they came from until we were a lot older than we realized.
Yeah, they went kind of started to put it together. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously they could have did this way, but they didn't. Like you said. They went with whatever they could do. They didn't know
whatever skills they had to kind of apply that here. I didn't know how bad it was till I went to Samoa, and then I realized how much harder it was, like the farmer's life.
Yeah.
Like I had my cousins and my uncle. My uncle wore the same shirt for the whole 4 months.
Yeah.
The only time we wore different uncle was during church.
Yeah. Crack of dawn, they're already up in out in the plantation.
There's no alarms. Yeah, there's no alarm. I mean, you got the roosters, and then there is no set. You know what I mean? Like they had school, but after school they go right to Fals and doing the umu and you know what I mean, stuff like that. I didn't understand until I went there. And then I saw how hard the life was, and then they come back, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's different.
Yeah, I'm American.
I was proud to be Samoan, but as soon as I went to Samoa, I was like, I'm an American.
I'm sorry.
American through and through. Yeah, red-blooded American here. Well, because you see how different it was. Yeah. And then you realize, they say we got it good.
What they sacrificed to try to give you a better life.
Yeah,
at least
you don't know. I think it's probably important for everybody to go back to Samoa where they came from, or wherever their parents.
See where where your parents started from.
Yeah, and then you realize through their eyes what they had to do to get here, to give us an opportunity.
Their kids could not come up the way they did.
Yeah, because if not, man, I think a lot of kids will be entitled, thinking that because this is all they know. They don't know how much rougher.
Some are entitled, because they don't know.
They don't understand. Our parents came from I don't even know if it's a third world. I mean, fourth or fifth.
Probably fourth or fifth. And
yeah, man, it must be a different planet. And then how the families run. It's communal, but here it's not like that at all, man. Like once we leave the door, now we're Americans, and so we got to fit in how we can fit in. And you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's different. Linwood was where we grew up. It was all white, and then growing up, I was during the time where it became all black, and then went to all Mexican, and then it was just the community. That's what it was. People were always migrating.
All those phases.
Yeah, I was there. Our neighbors were white, and then they were all black, and then they were all Mexico. So you could see the influx of different cultures coming in.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we were like everybody else. We're all low income, so that's where it was. You know what I mean? Both parents worked, did the best they could. So music, I think for us was just whatever we heard on the radio, and then church music. That's pretty much for us. I know you talk. I know you're fortunate that your mom played piano, and I think on mine is the opposite. My dad played guitar. My mom didn't really. She wasn't. She was never taught anything about music.
Yeah, any musically inclined or
So my dad played, and then my grandfather, that beloved soul. Yes. I know he played. I remember growing up, and he played some kind of horn. I don't remember exactly. And I know we had a piano in the house.
Saxophone player, that man.
Yeah, so I remember in our family home, there was a piano there for my brother, and then I had aunties that played piano as well, so it was nice hearing that. My parents took my brother and my sister to piano lessons, so they were both trained to play piano.
Okay.
I had to forge my parents' signature to join band because I don't know.
They probably looked at you like, oh, this guy he doesn't have the musical gene, this guy.
Yeah, so I do remember signing my parents' signature so I could join the band because I saw the oldest take lessons, then I saw the youngest, but
they're like, what am I, Chalk River?
You know what? I taught it myself. So yeah, that's how I got in the band. And then Glee Club, I just want to. Yeah, I think I saw people singing, and I was like, man, I want to try that. And in primary, every Sunday we sang songs, and it was it helped me to kind of. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. But I stayed in Glee Club the last couple of years in elementary, junior high school. I didn't do anything, but I stayed in band up until high school. And then I quit 9th grade. Yeah. I think that's probably something I wish we talk regrets.
I think that was your militant phase at that point, right?
That was the day I thought I was Rambo. Thought I could be all I could be.
First blood, sir.
It was so bad, so off. I did enjoy the experience, but if I would do it again now, I would have stayed in band and tried my hardest to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Had I known that we were going to go that route to music, I would have stayed in band all the way through to college to now. I would still be playing.
It's funny how you don't think that your life is going to go a certain way until it plays itself out, and you're like, oh, dang, and I should have. What would you say back then? What were your musical influences or role models? I'm sorry.
Elementary and junior high school, during that time, I was in the doo-wop. K-Earth 101, KRLA, all the old school stuff from the 50s and 60s, I think, was something. I don't even know why I like that music so much. I think because Ben started singing with the boys in our ward, so they were the original guys that were in Compton's finest. And so,
so you started kind of.
Yeah, so what they listened to, I started trying to figure out, like, oh wow, that's so cool. You have the, you're the oldest, but I mean, for a younger brother, you always try to emulate your older brother and like try to see what they're doing, so you try to do the same thing. So I think that's probably what got me into it. So I started getting more into doo-wop, into, slowly into Motown. Yeah. But I didn't have that kind of voice to to be R&B. I think because at such a young age, you're just, whatever you listen to, that's how you're going to try to sound like. So doo-wop was probably something that I first started with. Ben started bumping reggae when I was in 4th grade. So I knew about reggae back then. Yeah. But I didn't understand it because everything was backwards,
Yeah, the timing seemed
different. All I heard was percussion. It wasn't like a.
You said, a 4 on the floor where you hit it.
Yeah, and then I could all I hear is percussions, and it sounded like jungle music, So, but I liked it because it was so different. But I knew that reggae was not a big thing because the more I loved reggae, I would tell people about it, but nobody knew what it was. And so
everybody's like, what? Who is that?
Nobody knew. I remember, you used to have your school dances, and our last day in 5th grade or 6th grade, I bring a Bob Marley tape to the dance.
A cassette?
I played. I was like, "Come on, everybody! Could you be loved?" And nobody even knew what it was.
Nothing but crickets, huh?
It was just like, what are you doing? So I had to go ahead and take that cassette. I got to take the cassette, take back out, and all right, let's go back. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to this.
Go on and play that New Edition again. My mistake. My bad.
Yeah. Candy girl.
Yeah, man. Reggae was not. Nobody knew what it was, and I couldn't connect anything up until I heard UB40.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me too.
Yeah, that was when I knew there was a new version.
A science to it. There's
a modern, or I should say contemporary reggae. I just thought that's the only style it's gonna be, just Peter Tosh and Jimmy Cliff and Bob. I didn't know that there was actually
other people that were already kind of
like a modern version or their own twist on things. So once I heard UB40, I was like, oh snap!
Okay, so you can do stuff with this.
So you can do stuff that's like like a 90s or 80s version, as opposed to some from the 70s. So that was cool, and that's always. But I've always listened to reggae in the back. Just no one really knew about it growing up. That that we could associate with that school, or I would talk to people about it, and they're like reggae, and then even the first cassette we had, it was spelled RAYGAY. So it's like reggae. Yeah, so I'm like, I didn't know that. When we got the tape, it was a mixtape, so we were like, yeah, that's reggae. So
that's quite different, huh?
We didn't even get the spelling right. We didn't know what it was. We just knew that it sounded so different that it was,
Yeah.
going almost like a novelty. You know,
so
nobody listen to.
I know, like musical influences. I know this one guy. He really liked this other singer back in the day.
Myth. Are we talking about the legend?
The legend, the man, the man himself.
Thea calls him Mo Man, and it's very disrespectful to me.
And it's borderline blasphemous.
You know, almost had to do a prenup for that one out. I was, shall no one at any time ever say that word. Yeah, yeah, man, I did love Aaron.
Not that name.
Yeah. Anyways, Aaron Neville is the gentleman's name.
I remember that
man.
quite well.
Yeah, because I think I thought it fit my voice.
Well, it did.
You know what I mean?
Did.
I didn't know it was so like nasally back then, but I mean, I had a really high pitched voice back then. Like we had the 8-tracks that, you know what I mean, growing up, and a lot of it was Elvis, country.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
A lot of it was country.
I mean, that's why I like Tom Jones, Elvis. That's all the stuff. All you know, my parents and other
Freddie Fender.
Yeah, Freddie Fender. Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those
Engelbert Humperdinck, all those guys.
Yeah. Because that's what they listened to. I did hear that, but it wasn't something that I felt. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know why I could connect more to doo-wop, but for me, I always heard it in the background. It was something I just thought. I guess maybe thought it was like old-fashioned music.
Yeah.
But I always heard it. It was always playing in the background, along with the old Salmon stuff. You know?
Yeah.
All the classics, that stuff was always good. So I would say music was always in the house. It
so aside from Aaron Neville, what other artists were kind of influential to you back then?
I think I was still heavy on the doo-wop stuff. So Motown, I was starting to get more into Motown. Reggae was always
kind of around, but
it wasn't like I didn't have any access to listen to anything other than what my brother had, you know?
Yeah.
So he always had Peter Tosh, Bob, Yellow Man, and UB40. UB40 being probably one of the first groups that I could relate to because it was more contemporary sound and something that you could hear, like Red Red Wine. You know, when that came out, I was like, man, that is. I didn't even know that was a cover. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't know that they did all covers in the beginning, or that's what got them big. But they were probably the first group that I heard that could actually do something that could be played on the radio, like commercial radio, because
they could cross over and do stuff.
Yeah, the crossover appeal. I could never hear any reggae on the radio unless it's, you know what I mean, like they used to have a college station on the weekends on Sundays, you know what I mean, from 3 to 5.
Oh yeah.
You know, then you could hear something. That's the only time you hear reggae. Other than that, man, it's just gonna be whatever pop music is on. So I think us growing in LA, we're gonna hear a lot of the R&B. I passed the funk stage because I didn't, you know what I mean? I was
I was already phased out by the time.
Yeah, so I was too young to get into that. So I was in the 80s, so that's a lot of like Depeche Mode and Culture Club, you know what I mean? And it's going slowly from Balangi stuff to more, you know what I mean, melody stuff, or it's kind of, you know what I mean, it's kind of blending in. So New Edition was starting to get really big, Whitney Houston, you know, all that stuff. That's the time that we kind of grew up with Kiss FM and, you know, the radio station KJLH, where you starting to hear less Balangi stuff and more melody stuff. I think that's probably the vein that I was probably starting to listen more to, besides the doo-wop.
Okay.
But those are kind of niches, you know what I mean? Like those are, or niche. Not it's not really something that everyone listens to, but for whatever reason, I listen a lot. I think because Ben was singing with the group and I started trying to emulate them, I started trying to listen to the songs with a lot of harmony, you know?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know anything musically, like keys, because I never learned it. But the singing part I could understand, I could relate to, and I could start trying to sound like groups that I like to listen to. So I think that's why the doo-wop, there were more vocals. You know what I mean? So I can catch on easier, like, oh, that's a high part. That's
you can kind of tell where all the 3 or 4 parts are.
Yeah, it was simple enough for me to understand without having to be so complicated to where we talk about color notes or cluster chords. That would throw me off because I'm not accustomed to listen to that. You know what I mean? Because I don't listen to doo-wop. So once like Boys to Men,
the 2 notes are going to sound too close together.
They're too close, and then my ears.
Those?
And I can't tell because I'm like, I don't know. It sounds good, but I don't know how they did it. So when like Pomona Boys, when they were singing, you know what I mean, like groups that grew up with local Pakipaki, and they were, you know, they
doing
they
R&B
could do those
and gospel stuff,
and their stuff was more complicated. That's when I knew, man, I did not know. You know, like I saw it limited. I could sing my parts, but it always had to be, you know, out the straight 3-part harmony. It can only be a certain straight way. And that was like that up until I graduated high school, the way I sang. I just felt like I wasn't trained, so I didn't know. And the learning from the band, I couldn't make the connection between the notes, you know what I mean, on band and singing.
So because it's an instrument and not an actual vocal. Yeah.
And I never considered myself, you know what I mean, my voice as an instrument. I just kind of say, I sing. And, you know what I mean? I think I can try to emulate people, but I never consider myself like a singer per se.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So with your musical influences, what would you say is like one of your first musical experiences?
Well, Glee Club, we performed like at Bateman Hall, you know, like end of the year things.
Or which one would stood out to you the most, or was the biggest kind of impact on you?
Like if I saw a group per se, you're saying, or one of the groups
like
the
first musical experience. It could be either you in a performance, or you watching other people perform and having that kind of an aha moment, and you're like, oh, okay.
There are some things I do remember. I once sang at a wedding. I'm trying to think where it was. So I started singing with that a cappella group at church, Compton's Finest. And then there was another group in Paramount that Frank was a part of as well, because he went to Paramount High School. So he sang with us, sang with them boys. That's where Chris Boyd, if you remember CB. And so he sang with them, and we decided to sing at a wedding together. We kind of combined our groups. And there was a band. And I've never really... I did grow up with bands, you know, coming to the church.
Yeah.
But I never really paid attention to the music they were playing were always old school Sound One songs, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't appreciate it. I sure appreciate it now, because they were playing live music.
Part of your foundation, even though I didn't even recognize it back
indirectly,
then.
Indirectly, it was more of a it's like one of those things I miss. I wish our kids grew up with more live music. But at this wedding, I sang, and there was a group there, a family group. They were called Family Connection. I don't recall who these guys were.
That keyboard player sucked, man.
I sat there, and that was the first time I ever heard a live band like up close. And like I said, the bands that I grew up, they always played old school Sound One songs. So it was just like, oh man, that's cool, you know, nice. But this one, they played songs like they played. I was tripping because they played "Waiting in Vain," and then they played some R&B songs, and I was so like, it threw me for a loop, because I was like, they're singing with instruments, you know? Like not only are they singing, but they're playing with instruments, and the songs they're singing is like the songs on the radio, you know what I mean? And
relatable stuff that
and it sounds like the radio, and I was like, that's crazy, you know, because like I'm seeing it. I don't know if that makes sense. It sounds stupid, but like listening to the radio is different. But if you're seeing someone performing the song live and you're seeing it, then now you make the connection, like that's how, you know what I mean, that they're actually, you know what I mean, like I see it live. They're actually singing what I hear on the radio, and it was really cool. And I think that kind of planted a seed, because later on I was at another wedding where I was so nervous singing that I said a certain word, a dedication to the
Bride and Broom. Yes, I remember.
Yes. There was the same band there, that played, and I remember looking at them, I'm like, oh man, this is that same group that I remember. This time I sang with their own boys, but there was another a cappella group too that was there, but that band was there, and I remember sitting there before I left. I was tripping because I was like, hey, it was cool. I think the second time I seen the same band play songs, and it was I don't remember it's the same lineup. I think there was a different set of guys, but the core people I saw, you know, the guitar player, the keyboard player, the drummer. I don't remember the girls that were singing, if there were girls, but it was cool, man. It was cool to see that because it adds on to what I, you know what I mean? Like I sang a cappella, and then I've sang with you know, the piano or whatnot. But this is live. These are live instruments, so it's louder. But I could see the creativity in it because it wasn't, you know what I mean? It's not computerized. It's actually people playing, making the music happen. And that was like, man, that was tight. That made me feel like, dude, there's so much to music. You know what I mean? Now that I start realizing, man, there's different styles. Not only are there different genres, but now there's like live music, you know what I mean? Choral music, a cappella music, gospel music. And it was cool seeing that. So those are probably the first musical experiences that I was like, wow, that's it's one of the things that you'll kind of remember in the back of your head, you know? Like pivotal, I would say pivotal. Trip out, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then I should have paid more attention to when the New Zealanders played and when the Twala band played, and we even had Booyah Tribe, like they played a set at our war. They went, and it was different. But those are probably the two moments that I realized, like, hey, I wasn't even part of a band yet, but it made me realize, like, man, maybe one day, you know, like maybe one day I could try to do something like that. Maybe
kind of planted the seed already at that point.
You know, it made me think, like, man, it's you can progress. You know, you can go from here to here to here to here. So it was cool.
Wow, cool. So with that, so now that you know you talked about some of your musical experiences, so now you're finally part of a group. It's your first gig in a band. How was that, or what was that like?
I would say it was very scary. It was very intimidating. I think because in the group, there's a group of us, but the way it's situated, like the singers are in the front.
Yeah. You
know? And so with the music playing and everyone's looking at you, I can't really cower behind, you know, with the group of guys and feel like I'm, you know what I mean? I'm not the only one singing, but in this case, it's different.
You feel like you're being singled out, you're right in the front.
Yeah, and then and then the mic is right there, and so you have the pressure of trying to perform. So you're trying to smile and, you know what I mean, and sing and stuff. And I think that's where I first developed the habit of closing my eyes, because as you recall, I used to sing. I sang sideways. I couldn't face the people, man.
Where is he looking? Why is he faced that way?
Yeah, and I remember I was the background singer. I wasn't even the main guy, so I was the backup guy, but I was still wouldn't face the crowd. I would face the lead singer, who Robert was the lead singer, and I was his backup. But I couldn't even sing facing the crowd. I would still face Rob and look at him, and so I know that was very awkward for him.
He's like,
that's awkward for me too, but I couldn't. I couldn't face it for whatever reason.
At that point, you go to what works for you to help you.
Mentally, that's what I had to do to be able to sing my parts, because I was so nervous that I couldn't even look at anybody. So I'd much rather look at Rob and look at him like, am I on? Am I off?
Yeah, you know, because he'll give you a visual cue right away. Okay,
yeah, I'll get immediately whether or not I'm on or off. And in the beginning, I was always off. Like I couldn't get used to the music being so loud behind me.
The level of the music.
Yeah, it was hella loud. Yeah, and to this day, sometimes I'm like, man, I don't even know how I made it this far with my hearing. But that was, I would say I was scared to death to sing. But it was something that I really want to try, and I want to find out if I was good at it. So the only way I know is to actually do it. And I don't know how many gigs I sang sideways, but I did. It's just I had to get over that. I'd probably say the first year I was probably singing sideways, looking at Rob.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those.
Yeah, there was a bunch, and I couldn't look at anybody. And then
we can't say, hey, face the front. They're like, dude, everybody has to go through what they go through to try to get, you know.
I thought about wearing glasses. But but most of the gigs are at night, and I look like an idiot wearing glasses at night, you know. So,
is he high? Is he blind?
Yeah. I didn't want to be that guy. Like, why is he wearing glasses at night? I just, for me, it was, I had I was so nervous. Singing was one thing, but the words, like, how am I, I was like, dang, I didn't want to try to remember all these lyrics. So eventually, when I was in the front, I closed my eyes, and that way I could see in my mind, I could see the lyrics rolling down like a screen. So go from song to song, all I needed was the first word, and then in my mind, no, that's it.
So now that you had your first experience and your first gig, now you can appreciate other guys that do it and make it look effortless, huh?
Yes. I realize now it wasn't easy to be on stage, and that it wasn't easy to try to interact with the crowd.
Because practice is one thing. It's just you and the guys. You guys goofing around, you just laughing and cracking jokes, and it's relaxed.
Yeah.
Until you get in front of the crowd,
it's a whole different story. And if the crowd don't like you, oh man, it's gonna be a long night.
You're gonna know in the first few bars, okay, this probably wasn't the song we should have picked.
Yeah, you doing real quick though. Just go cut it. This ain't working. Yeah. One of the worst things that we can have is nobody dancing.
Or just dead silence.
Or dead silence, and they're looking at you. After a while, your anxiety will start going up because you're like, what am I saying so wrong? Am I doing so wrong? Because we vibe off the crowd. If the crowd's not feeling us, I don't think there's anything that can mess with a guy's ego more, like musicians, is if nobody's dancing their music. Or they dance all through the first band, and then you come up and everyone goes back down. And
everybody just scatters.
Yeah, then you're like, oh, it's just a battle. Because that's happened plenty of times.
I mean, I'm sure we can look back at now and laugh at all the different things that we had to go through.
Yeah, we've had such a run. So many years of playing at different gigs with different crowds. So it helped me to appreciate it's not easy to do it. But the only way to get better is to keep doing it, So we've had days where there was no room in the club, and then we've had days where nobody showed up to the club.
We're playing for chairs and tables.
Yeah. Now but I think every group is, every group is.
Oh yeah, everybody has those stories about, oh man.
Yeah, nobody came, or no one, or they heard about us, but they didn't. Nobody came anyway, because they knew it was us, which is embarrassing too. But it's if it's your passion, eventually you're not playing for them. You're just you're playing because you enjoy playing.
So going through now you've gone through your musical experiences, your first gig. Mm-hmm. What would you say, or what would be your aha moment as far as being a musician or an artist or a singer? When did you kind of figure, oh man, okay, when you had that epiphany and everything is like, dang, I can do this.
I think is when I started recording with Dave. When we started recording a lot, and he started telling us, man, we can get famous and become these R&B groups. I think the aha moment would be when I met Tao from Next Coming of Age.
Okay.
So we met him during the highest, his high point where they were on, their music.
Their group was pretty,
Yeah, they were the West Coast version of Boyz II Men, because, they were kind of on par. They came out before All For One, and they were considered man, that's the West Coast version of how New York and Philly and everybody on the East Coast they were repping our side for Long Beach and whatnot. And I didn't know Tao, but Dave knew him. He grew up with him, they grew up around the same time. Tao was actually a rapper before.
Okay.
So he moved to Long Beach, and then from there, I guess once he graduated, him and 3 other guys got signed. And so we were introduced to Tao to help us with our vocal, our developing our chops for R&B. Yeah. So once I met Tao, man, that tripped me out, because I only sang one style. I sang doo-wop, and then I was getting into Aaron Neville, through a friend. I had a friend in church, and he was like, "Man, listen to this guy. You know, guy's kind of the same range. You know, it's kind of falsetto, but it wasn't super high, so I could sound like him. So I was." That's what I was used to. That's all I knew. And then once I met Tao, because I felt like that's the only really, you know what I mean? That's as much experience that I had. I only knew this much about music from primary and, Glee Club. And then, the Aaron Neville kind of expanded a little bit more. And then once I met Tao, I met a Samoan guy who sounded just like Melodies Cats, that pipes. And so when he did it, man, then when he would vocal coach us, we would have to sing note for note. So he would do a run, and because they wanted me to be the lead singer, I had to do a run. The
run, yeah.
The problem is I didn't know anything about runs. I didn't know what riffs were, and I knew runs, and I could do that, like whatever doo-wop stuff, from the '60s. That's pretty much all I knew. So
their runs weren't nearly like
that's I didn't know anything about that. So Tao would do a run, and then his style of like, I'm not saying he's not a professional or anything, but he was like almost like, you can't do this, like you can't do it, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I don't like to the point where he challenges you like that, and I think I needed it because I was really shy, and back then I hated that when someone kept saying that I couldn't do it. So it forces you when you get Fali, So once I got Fali, that's when I was like, oh hell yeah, I can do it.
I know you say I can't, but
I can do this. I know I can do it, but still, I'm not gonna just say take it. So he started doing it, and I started forcing myself to do it to the point where I could mimic his style. The problem was I started mimicking to the point where I didn't know how to develop.
You sound like him.
I went from Aaron Neville to now Tao, so. But he got me out of that to get to where this is the style now. That was the style then, but this is the style now. And if you want to compete with all the Melody Cats and all the other guys that are really good,
this and more.
Yeah, you gotta be up here. And I would say he's top tier. I was low tier. I wasn't on a tier. I was just trying to figure out how to bridge the gap.
You're on the sidelines.
I didn't have a tier. So we hung out together, and every night he would go through his riffs and runs and stuff, and I would have to always mimic what he did. I didn't know how to, but I just knew that I had to get to that point. And so once I got to where I started feeling comfortable, then I could create my own. Oh, instead of him going here, I'm gonna go this way. Oh, instead of going up, I'm gonna go down. You know what I mean? To the point where you start developing your own style. And I was like, I didn't know I could do that. Like creatively, I didn't know you can make your voice, get your voice this way, or do this twist or whatnot. And that was and like the way he fluttered was tight. But then I started realizing like, if he could do it, I could do it. Oh my gosh! So I started doing it, and I was like, okay, now I felt comfortable. But he had to push me out of that to
kind of get you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, man, because I was stuck in my comfort, and I was happy because I felt like up until that time, oh, I'm good acapella. I'm in confidence. You know what I mean? I sang acapella. I can do this. And then you meet somebody that just blows you out of the water, and you're like, I don't know nothing. Yeah, then you kind of second guess, like, I really don't know nothing. But it's I give him the credit for helping me to progress to the next level. Because without that, I think he gave me the
confidence
to be bold. To be bold and to kind of push yourself to like, no, you can do it. You just don't want to, or you just
or you're afraid to.
You're afraid to. Like you feel good because you're in the bubble. But that's all you'll be is in that.
If you don't break out of that.
Yeah, in our area, Carson boys, Pomona boys. Pomona boys to me, I always looked up because they knew I do cluster chords. But I was happy in our bubble. But it was like a big fish in a small pond,
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna go anywhere. You're just gonna be a local legend, And Ty was like that. If you can't sing it, and Ty would say, I'm not nearly as good as these guys, but if you can't even come to my level,
how you gonna compete with those guys? Yeah.
How you gonna compete with them cats if you can't even get on my level?
If you guys are trying to get a song out there, how you gonna compete with these guys?
Yeah, and so that was good. Much credit to Dave for introducing us to him because he helped us to realize look, man, you only at 20%. You think you're at 70%. You're not even at 20. I'm at 7. You know, I'm at 70.
You still.
Yeah. He's like, I'm trying to get to 90. But if you can't even meet halfway, who you think you can? You know, how you going to compete with the big dogs? And I'm not even there.
And they're not even going to try to help you.
Yeah. So he was like, you either sink, you know, it's not that sink or swim. It's fly or die. You know, like you gotta jump off the cliff. You know what I mean? You just gotta jump, run.
You gotta take that running leap. And
once you do that, then you'll figure out if your wings work. You know. So, but that gave me the boldness to kind of push through. So that's what makes it easier, because the adversity that we feel or that we go through, it's nothing new. It's just another, you know what I mean? Just another obstacle to climb. So that was my aha moment when I met him, and I got to the point where I felt like I could learn all the stuff that he was teaching us. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. You can do this. You know, like
so at that point, then it was okay. There's no looking back.
We can do this. We can do this. And that's how I felt. I know that they would always say, you know, like to be the front man. I never felt myself as a front man, but that gave me the boost that I needed to know that if I could do it, you know what I mean, that I could do it. Like I had the potential.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know I had the potential, but once I realized that I could go tit for tat, I was like,
okay. He got your confidence up now.
Yeah,
okay.
It forces you got to man up, or you know what I mean, or accept defeat. You know, we're just getting started, so I had to push it.
Cool, man. So with your how long now have you been into music or doing music?
I think I've always been into music, but actually recording, you know what I mean?
And
performing, that was probably in high school. With recording music, probably out of high school, you know. I think right when I graduated, that was the time that we were starting to record with Dave and doing everything with Midnight Terror.
What would you say are some of your musical highlights?
I think the musical highlights, I think for recording, for me, was being able to record and to see the process. Okay. So I would say when we finally got you in the studio with us and we started working on stuff, that was probably my highlight for recording, because I've never recorded before. That was my first time. We were introduced to another cat in Long Beach when I was still in high school, but it never went anywhere. You know, it was just us with Compton's Finest recording, and the guy wanted us to kind of, you know, become a group, whatnot, but everybody already had plans. You know, people were going on the mission. Other people went to college.
The music thing was just a kind of a hobby, and
it was one of those. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we'll just keep moving on. With Dave, we were actually recording, and then we were doing shows. And so when we recorded Lineage, that was like, we had no idea how popular it'd be. You know. Like we didn't know that how. We just knew that was a song that we were doing that we liked, and it sounded really nice. The harmony was good, and because of Tal, that helped us, you know, we sounded better with crossover, you know, being a crossover.
Now you're able to kind of not limit yourself.
Yeah, we didn't sound like a doo-wop group anymore. Now we were more going into crossover where we can fit into the pop, we can fit to the R&B, because now that we know what riffs and runs are, you know, we know how to do that, and we compete with melodies, and those are the things. So that was a highlight for me to know that we could do that. And then with you adding your talents, that just bumped us up to a higher level, because up until then, there wasn't a lot of musical aspects of it. You know, the elements of it,
right?
Like how a bass would sound, or how the keyboards would sound.
There was just like the programmed drums.
There's the drums and the rhythm and the idea of a guitar, but that's about it, because it's still not put together to make it a complete song, you know?
Yeah, I still remember that day. I remember. Yeah. You think you could help me with something? What? Yeah, we're trying to record something, but I think we need you to kind of come in and add stuff to it. You know.
It was.
I remember having a talk with Dave, and you know, he was kind of wanting me to, you know, to kind of come in and see what I could lend. So I was happy to come in and just. I listened to the song. I liked it. So I figured, okay. And Dave kind of said what he kind of wanted for it. So he let me have a little bit of freedom with it. So I tried to give him what I could, as close to what he wanted. And and then I got to play the bass line on it. So, okay.
Yeah, it was good, man. Because of that, it was like the right timing for that. Like I just was able to finally get comfortable with my voice, learning the harmonies, with Sherm, with Brian. It was a carefree time because none of us are married.
Oh, yeah.
We're still trying to figure things out. I think for us, our top concern was making sure we had a good, a good demo for the songs, or what we released would be the best that we could at that time. So I was happy with that. That made me feel good. It was looking like everything was heading the right direction.
Yep. So, along with that, your highlights. Now we want to go back to what would you say, without having to name names, what would you say would be your lowest point in music?
I would say two points, two times. The first, during that time, actually, was when my little sister passed away. And so that kind of took the
wind out of yourselves.
Yeah, it took the wind out of myself because it felt like, I think it made me feel vulnerable because it came out of the blue and we didn't expect anything like that.
It wasn't like she was sick or sickly. She just
it just got sick at a church dance and never got over it. And as it got progressively worse within a week. Man. Yeah, she was sick. It was a church Christmas dance, and then by 2 weeks later, before Christmas,
I remember you just telling me, and I was like, Florida,
it was so out of the blue, and then that kind of, I would say, it kind of spiraled from there to the other thing that happened where we got.
You were working at Farmers and Merchants Bank at that point, right?
Yeah. I was working at the bank, there. And then once that happened, that kind of halted everything for me, because I didn't know. I think at that point,
that's your sibling, so that's kind of huge.
But yeah, I think because the surprise of it, it was so sudden.
Yeah,
it was so sudden that none of us.
She's the youngest out of you guys. You wouldn't expect her to go first.
Yeah, and that's what didn't make sense. It's like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense. And then from there, you start realizing, like, And from there, you're like, wait.
So at that point, had Ben already been going to college at that point?
No, he just got out. He got out the year I graduated high school.
Oh, okay.
So by then, he was already he was going to a trade school for electronics. Oh, okay. But he had moved to Temecula and was trying to get away from the old life.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he came out, within months, he was already out in the desert area just trying to start over.
Yeah.
But, and then plus, that's during the time where things were just getting bad with the music, with who we were with. And, and eventually it all came to a head, and that's when I took a break from music and just had to kind of get away and escape and kind of figure things out. But that was probably the lowest time because I think personally with the struggle of losing a sibling and then after that things not working out musically, you kind of lose your sense of like
direction.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you're just spiraling, you know what I mean? Or actually like you're now you don't know,
like a free fall. There's no don't know which way is up at that point.
You feel like you don't have any control. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I could control this from happening, and then things I thought we were looking up is not looking up. It's not what it seemed it was. Yeah. So now you're kind of stuck, and then you have to grow up fast because now you're like, she was the one that was supposed to take care of my parents. You know what I mean? Like we kind of just offloaded like, well, she's the youngest. By the time we're out having kids, and she'll be the one to go see our parents. But with that going, now it makes you
obviously that wasn't the man's plan.
yeah. Our plan is not his plan. But you assume things, like we assumed like she would always be there, and I assumed that the guys that I were with, I would always be working with them with music, and you know what I mean. Like it was a done deal. I didn't know that things would work out the way they did. So, but everything happens for a reason, Yeah. I didn't know that at the time, but that's all I could bank on was that I would be able to. I had to get through it to move on, but that was hard. That's probably the lowest part that I could remember.
Got it. Yeah. Well, when you asked me about mine, that was the same way.
Yeah.
And I think it was close to around the same time, but this one guy got over it quicker than I did, and and convinced me to come back.
It was. I think because music, it could be a healing thing too.
I think so.
It allows you to use your creativity. So, for like when we write music or you write something and you feel your emotions, you can bring it out and actually put it down on paper, and then it helps you feel better. It helps to kind of cleanse. For me, writing, if I write lyrics, if I'm hurt, I can write the lyrics down, and then it'll allow me to convey those feelings, and then I can move on. But you'll always have those songs to come. It'll trigger that memory again. Because every time you hear a song, you'd be like, "Oh, I remember that song. This was during the time, this."
Oh yeah, definitely. Music always. You hear a song and it takes you back.
Takes you to. I remember this. Yeah, so every time I hear songs from then, it takes you back to the time.
But then the emotions come back too, like whatever was happening during that time, and that song brings back that memory.
And it's okay because it helped you grow.
Yeah.
And
you can look back, even if it wasn't so good, you can look back fondly on it and remember it.
Because it took me to go through that to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
And that stuff. Yeah, it's like a scar. You bear it, you'll have that scar, but it helped you to become what you are today.
But that's funny. So, kind of right after that year, the lowest point, that's when we started to. We just took it and kind of just jumped feet first into music, and now we're starting to gig. We're starting to play with other people, and then that's when. This one guy, this same guy, always had the epiphany to, I want to do a reggae album. Like, what? I want to do a reggae album.
I felt that we could do so much, but reggae for us, that is what I grew up on as a kid, and so it was always easy for me to fall back on. I never wanted to do a doo-wop album, you know what I mean? I never wanted to do I just never did, but the reggae thing, I think because it was always in the background.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Polynesians back then were also starting, that was like the new style of doing music.
Yeah.
Like it has such a big, it went from a toe hold to a foothold to now.
Yeah.
Like most
look where the reggae aspect of it is gone. As far as island music, it's like worldwide.
Yeah, it's got its own genre now. Island reggae, it's not just us, but it was like I grew up,
But now you even got like all the other smaller islands in the South Pacific, and they bringing some heat. So
they have converted, man. Jamaica has given us such a blessing because it's given it to us, and now we make it our own.
And run with it and put your own twist.
We
and
put
your
our
own
own
spin
elements.
on it.
Yeah. And so I always felt like, we can do this because if UB40 can do this to all these cover tunes that are not even reggae, imagine what we could do with the songs, with our ideas. Now, we never wrote a song before we did original music. This was something new.
Yeah.
But I felt like, hey, if anyone can do it, we could do it. You know what I mean? Like, we can do it. Like, we did all these cover tunes for so many years. I bet you we could probably do it. I'm not sure how, but I bet you we could. It can't be that hard. Everyone else is, is other groups that did it.
Yep. Yeah. Says the guy who never wrote a song before and was tasked with writing all of our songs.
Yeah, man. Years later, I saw an interview with UB40. No one knew how to play instruments. So they stayed in the basement, one of the guys' basement, and they stayed there for months learning how to play. And then even like during the interview, Ali can't write. He can't read music. So not only did they not play music, he can't write music. Yeah, he said I can't. And then even the Beatles, they can't read music.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff they learned, and it was
it was all a groove or a feel.
Yeah, they were never,
classically trained.
Yeah, they weren't. Yeah. They just knew they had great ears. They knew the sound that they were looking for. Even if there was no textbook about how to make this sound, they knew that was the sound.
They knew how they can get the sound out. And
and they had the potential. You know what I mean? They could sing and they could
they had the faith in themselves that, look, I don't know how, but I know that if I put this out, I think people are gonna like it.
Yeah, so I felt the same way. Like, Al, you can play multiple instruments. I can sing multiple, I can sing different styles because we play different styles. So I think we can do it. I don't know how, and I don't know how we'll do it, but we can do it because
I think that was the beauty with playing with guys like KC and Uchi and all those guys, the girls, Rachel, and so it kind of helped because we're doing stuff for like parties and weddings, and so we're doing all kinds of different genres.
Yeah, if you recall, I hit you up years ago. We were getting ready, so this was with the group Rushe. We went to Hawaii for a thing that we did. We did a gig. We did a show at the high school, and then we did a show at the BYU Hawaii.
Oh, damn!
And so when I met you at Clarence's house, and you were working on a track for I don't think it was Brownsville. It was somebody that you were doing. Was it Dragons?
Yeah.
Dragon, Mickey.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were working on a track for them. I remember you working on a track, and I came over and was like, hey, they're planning for us to go to Hawaii. I was hoping that maybe you could do this song, and I played you the song. It was a song by Sanchez.
I remember that
Never
song.
just the man with the angle, the one who got the tyco. Yeah. So in my mind, I was like, we gotta do a reggae song because we can't do all these R&B songs and go to Hawaii when all they play is reggae. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff they played back then.
You're gonna play those stuff you think is cool, but you can get none but crickets.
And the only song that they liked, Al, was the one reggae song we played. That was the only song they liked. We played all the Rushes. They were just like, and then, and they were like, and I was like, see, I know it. Now, if he does a track, and when he did the track, that was the only one that bumped.
Dude,
all the other songs, it was like crickets.
You do not know how much I was like kind of trying to brainstorm. How the heck I don't have a studio. This guy wants me to record this thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he understood what I'd have to go through to try to do this.
Didn't have a clue, sir. Did not have a clue. But I know you could do it. I knew you could do it. I didn't know how, but I was like, if anyone could do the track, it's out. And I probably should ask, how are you going to do anything? I just knew that you were the person that, like, if anyone could do it, you could do it. And that was the only song that people liked. Because they were like...
oh, man. I remember I did the song and said, now how are they going to play it? So I had to record everything I sequenced onto a cassette. That in itself was crazy because I had to go through a PA system that I had a cassette deck hooked up to. Yeah. I don't even know if the EQing was right because I was just going with what I thought sounded good.
It worked because, like I
said, I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah, it was the only song that bumped, man. And people were like, "That's bad." I said, "No, they're the guy who did the song."
I don't even know if it was too bass heavy or not. I was like,
I don't remember. I just do remember that was the only song that people liked. But yeah, even back then, I was like, we could do this, man."
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that we end up doing all the songs in different styles because it just showcased that we enjoy different styles.
Yeah, I mean, it was like when you first said it, I was like, but our musical influence is more than just reggae. I'm not saying reggae's not good. I'm just saying we're only using a part of what we're blessed with. We have a lot more to offer than just that.
Yeah, and that is true. And I love that we can still play it now and be able to enjoy it,
No,
it's nice. You can play it and it'd be like, it still sounds really good.
So now that we've already started playing, we've already started recording. You have never written a song. I have never used a DAW in my life. So we're learning on the go while
Yes,
we're
sir.
recording.
Yes, sir.
Man,
That
so
is correct.
and what we ended up with was what was the Feels Like Rain album, who people thought was a mixtape from the get go.
Yeah, isn't that nice? It's nice it just sounds like a different group of people that are playing different songs.
Yeah,
But it's us on all the
yeah,
songs.
and it's just also too we have guest artists on there, so I can see why, because it's different genres and stuff, and then we got guest artists on there, so I can see where they would think it's a mixtape.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. It's it's a blessing to know that. It's a blessing to know that we were able to do something like that on with the people that we had. You know, I'm grateful that we got a chance to hook up with Tommy and.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. And get to work with
Yeah.
So
it was cool. We were lucky to meet with him.
With that said, what do you think the biggest goal there is yet to accomplish for Ruben, or for Lineage or us?
I think for us as musicians, for me, the biggest goal to accomplish would be to. I think on my bucket list is to go overseas, is to do a tour overseas, so that we can kind of introduce everyone to our style of music, and then that we can also meet with groups that we enjoy, that we've always enjoyed.
Yeah, we kind of always listened to from afar, but never got a chance to meet.
Work with them, play with them, and then do tracks with them. You know, do songs with them, because you know, from wherever the hell they're at, somehow it reached our ears. You know, and we've enjoyed it. So I would love to go back there and be like, hey man, I listened to your music for years.
I really enjoyed this song.
Yeah. Whatever, you know, your songwriting or the way your arrangements was, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it and how much it's influenced me to do music. You know, and you're a Poly, I'm Poly, you know, we're Islanders. I would love to do a gig with you. You know, and then I'd also love to see just how much I can mess with you to see, you know, if you legit.
Okay.
Because I want to know. I let you know I'm, you know, like I'm.
Okay. We're gonna see. Okay, so
I want to make sure that you're the real thing, because of you, I'm at. You know, it helped to influence me. So I'm coming back to you and be like, I heard you, man. I'm here. You know, like, let's do something. Let's work. Let's work on a song together. But there's been so many, you know, so many good groups overseas, New Zealand. Now Australia, I think it's cool because I'm born and raised here.
Yeah.
But I would love to go there, you know, and just share our talents.
I think because over there, they're like the biggest minority groups there, whereas here we're like the smallest.
Yeah, we are the minority of the minority.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of them try to come here. Some of them. Maybe not a lot. Some of them come here to try to make a name for themselves, and more power to them, you know. Whereas other people would rather just stay in their rotation because it's easier to, you know, or maybe they just rather just stay there, and that's cool.
Yeah.
I think for us to compete here, we can compete here, but one of the things I've learned is that because of who we are and how we're raised, there's a lot of stuff that we can't do, and there's a lot of stuff that we won't do because of our faith and just what you know. That's just we're just faking the funk. We're trying to do that. We can still do good music, but it would have to be our music. You know what I mean? It has to be something that we can play for that with our kids, and the message has to be something that's uplifting and that's conscious, so that it influences in the right way. We have to speak, like, you know, speak truth. You gotta speak light. We have to make sure that, like, we were given these talents for reasons, so we have to make sure we honor it and, you know what I mean? Yeah. Do our best.
Do right by it and
man.
Share it.
Yeah. We've been blessed with such a gift to be able to influence so many people that we have to make sure we do it the right way. And I know that some people, it's easier to take shortcuts to get there, but we can't do that. You know, we have to take the longer road because it's the right road. But the goal is to go overseas, to meet and to collaborate with them, and then to eventually have our own hub here, so that there is a format for us to push good music, good media.